welcome to the Badass Breastfeeding Podcast. This is Dianne, your lactation consultant.
And I'm Abby, the Badass Breastfeeder. And today's episode was brought to you by Sarah's Chill. A handful of ice is all you need to keep your breast milk or formula safe for 20 hours. And today's episode is also brought to you by a new sponsor, Milk by Mom. Welcome, Milk by Mom. Milk by Mom, badasses, Milk by Mom. A little introduction. With
Awesome.
innovative freeze-drying technology, you can store and transport breast milk effortlessly without compromising its nutritional value. And we'll hear more about that awesomeness later on, but you can head to badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com. If you need anything, head there to our sponsor page and see if you can give them any of your business because they make this podcast possible. And while you're there, scroll down and enter your email address and we'll send us an episode straight to your inbox every week. And we are on Patreon. And welcome to Lena L. and Rebecca G. and Rachel M. and Stephanie D. and Rudy G. I know I'm repeating some names, but I don't really keep track of who I've said before. And I think it's nice to repeat names. It's fine. We would like to see you at Patreon. So you can head to the link at the top of the show notes under this episode, wherever you're listening from. And you can find our benefits, which include ad-free episodes and mini podcasts and live Zoom hangouts and Revolution Parenting podcasts and all kinds of things. And yeah, we would like to see you there. And we are still hosting our ongoing giveaway for people who leave reviews around the internet. Just send us a screenshot of your review and your address and send that to badassbreastfeedingpodcast@gmail.com and we'll send you a goodie bag. And now Dianne has our review of the week.
Yes. And it says, I'm pulling it up right now. We did it. 1 year of breastfeeding, all thanks to Dianne and Abby. I started listening when my daughter was about 3 months and my supply regulated, but I, like most people, thought it was drying up. They have helped me get through many milestones and weird recommendations from pediatricians. I recommended this podcast to any pregnant or breastfeeding moms that need advice. We're now thinking about our second child, and I'm excited to know I'll have 2 friends helping me through my second breastfeeding journey. Thank you both. And so, I know, I love it. So true, though, that at 3 months, everybody thinks they're drying up, but it's just your supply regulating.
Yeah.
And that's when she found us. She must have been doing lots of Googling at that point.
Yeah. Good. Well, not so good, but if you don't know where else to go, everyone goes to Google. Thank God she found us.
I know. Thank you. But yeah, so that was awesome. So thank you so much for leaving that for us. Today.
Yeah, I know. Today we're going to talk about growth spurts.
Growth spurts.
And I don't remember where this came from, but it doesn't matter.
I don't know either. Yeah, I don't know either. I don't know where it came from. But it's important.
Yeah, because these things happen and everyone thinks that, well, not everyone, but I mean, it can be a time where you start freaking out that things are going wrong or that you don't have any more milk or that something is wrong with your baby because the growth spurts are wild.
Mm-hmm.
This is a wild time. It's like everything that was going well is just going to be flushed down the toilet and it's all going to switch up and change.
And one thing that I think is kind of fun is that it's been, well, at least for me, I never think about growth spurts past the first year, but it happens to toddlers and, little kids and
it happens to
puberty,
big kids.
kids.
Exactly.
Growing pains are literally a thing. And
I know, I think growing pains are so interesting because our kids are older now. Well, they're not babies. And my kids are still growing. So they still at 12 and 9, they'll be like, oh, my knee hurts. My knee really hurts. The back of my knee, I guess, is a really common place for a growth spurt pain. And I'll be like, yeah, it's probably growing pains. And you never stop to think, though, that now, I mean, they do grow up really fast, but they're not growing now as fast as they do in that first, second, third year. And imagine how, if a 12-year-old can say to me, the back of my knee really hurts, your baby can't say that. Imagine like just a
No.
baby having all these pains from just growing. I feel like we don't think about it that way. We think of growing pains for like an older kid and then like sleep regressions and things like that for babies.
You're right.
But I mean, they must be in a lot of physical pain too as babies.
I would think, right?
Yeah.
They have a lot going on.
Because they're growing so fast. I mean, they're literally growing so fast. A lot
Yes.
faster than my 12-year-old.
Right. Yeah.
And that must
absolutely.
hurt.
I mean, they really are growing really super fast.
Yeah. And then we just think like, oh, well, they're not getting any sleep. And it's like, I mean, yeah, that's what's happening. That's what we're seeing. And, the reasons are just all of their great discomfort at this time.
So one of the things that I found said that your baby will grow about 10 inches and triple their weight by their first birthday.
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's just an average. Like, some babies do more than that. Some babies do less than that. But that's just kind of like around what they're doing. But they're not, it says here, don't confuse growth spurts with development. Oh my goodness, I cannot talk this morning. Don't confuse these growth spurts with developmental milestones. They can sometimes overlap and result in sleep loss, but developmental milestones revolve around acquiring cognitive language, social, emotional, and motor skills. Growth spurt is all about quickly occurring physical changes. So there's a huge difference there, but they can overlap.
It's going to present the same way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're
going to have the same thing happening with your baby. They're going to be a little fussier. They're going to be losing sleep. They're going to be crying. They're going to be nursing more. They're going to be doing all these things. Whether, when me and my friend always say like, our kids are kind of close. Amanda,
Yeah.
we're like they're fussy, and she's like, well, they're either teething or growing. It's just like, man, it's just one of those things. They're doing something, and there's really nothing you can do about it. Like, I think
not at all.
When your baby's sick, you're like, okay, what should we do? Can we, I don't know, give them, something to try to, how do we get this sickness to pass or whatever? Which also you can't really do a lot for that either. But for this, is just kind of like, you got to write it out.
Yeah. That's all it is. But try to think about it as a good thing, because that's what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a good thing. I mean, we want your baby to grow. So these, where it's going to be like kind of a pain because they are a little fussier during that time and everything, and they are probably eating more, it is positive changes, which is nice, which is good.
Yeah, which is nice.
Yeah. So, but these happen at like very specific times though, too.
Yeah.
So when you see them is going to be around 7 to 10 days old, 3 to 6 weeks old, 8 weeks-ish, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and 12 months. And they usually last about a couple of days, maybe 3 days or so. But for toddlers, it says it can last longer. But you're looking at like around 3 days for your baby. So signs are going through a growth spurt. So usually like changes in their appetite, fussiness, and sleep patterns. Mm-hmm. So some signs that you can look for are like hunger. When your baby's going through a growth spurt, you can expect an increase in hunger cues like rooting. We know what rooting is, right? When your baby is like, you touch their cheek and they turn their head. It's just a reflex. Right along with hunger cues.
Trying to find their nipple.
Yeah, exactly.
Trying to find the nipple, not their own nipple. But.
That's when they're looking down. Yeah. So right along with hunger cues is an uptick in appetite, which may show up as 2 to 4 days of what feels like nonstop nursing sessions. When infants are super hungry, breastfeeding parents often worry that they're not making enough milk. If you're concerned, don't hesitate to reach out to a lactation consultant for reassurance or help. It even says that in here. Yes, you should.
But also, like, because they're nursing more, yeah, they might be extra hungry, but that's also, again, breastfeeding is so much more than food. So this is how they're going to be soothing themselves during this time as well. And anytime, I mean, just letting your baby be at the breast whenever they want will keep that milk. So you don't have to worry about your milk supply.
Right. One of the other things that I found here too, which is out of a lactation book, so it's more about the lactation piece of it. Babies experience a growth spurt approximately 10 to 14 days after birth and will want to nurse more often during this period. It is also around this time that initial breast fullness decreases because your supply is starting to regulate, with concern that the combination of increased feedings and smaller breasts indicates low milk production. So this is when a lot of parents are like, am I not making enough milk? Because your supply is starting to regulate and you're not feeling that fullness of engorgement that you feel when your milk comes in. You know how like when your milk first comes in and you feel so full and you're feeling that fullness for days, and then all of a sudden you don't feel as full anymore, which is normal. And that's how we want you to feel. We don't want you to feel like you're full all the time. But then your baby's starting to go through a growth spurt and they're eating more frequently. So you're like, well, do I not have enough milk? What's happening? It's usually around this time that babies also start to cluster feed in the evening. That has nothing to do with growth spurts. They just do it. So that's also when parents are also like, oh my gosh, am I not making enough milk? The baby's cluster feeding in the evening time. I don't have enough milk. But it is a growth spurt. A lot of it is growth spurt stuff, anywhere from 10 to 14 days.
Yeah. And it's just all comes down to like, we don't understand babies.
Right.
You know, we don't understand what they're doing. And so if we understood babies and normal baby behavior, then we would be like, oh, okay, this is normal. But we don't have any idea what's going on with our bodies. I mean, it is so common for people to think that they're losing their milk when they lose that engorgement. Like that is just a very, very common thought. And that's such a misunderstanding. I mean, that is just not what's happening. And nobody tells us this. We don't know anything. We go through high school learning like all this math, which I don't know about you, but I retained like 1% of it.
Of
like
math?
I can add. Yeah.
Yeah, you retained more than I did. So I could use a calculator. That's about it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, come on. Yeah, right. I use a calculator. And then I bring whatever I have to do, like math, like even math for the podcast. I always bring it to Josh. I'm like, double check this because I don't trust myself.
Yeah,
anyway, my point is, oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, there was one time when my kids were in school and Brandon had me helping him with his math. And Tom was like, are you done with your homework? And he's like, yeah, Mom helped with my math. He's like, your mom helped you with your math? Because that's not really a thing.
I know. And now, because we homeschool, you know, so I've always been very unstructured, but I'm starting to get more structured. And the thing is, we've started this math program and I'm the teacher.
Oh my God.
And I know, but I have these workbooks. It literally tells you what to say. There's like a dialogue. Like it tells you what to say. Like it's a script. And I'm like, it has to, thank you. Because it has to be that way. Because I don't know. I don't know this. Like I can do shapes and stuff with Exley, but like, I don't know. With Jack, I'm like, no. Anyway, but we go through all of this, right? In high school, we don't use it and we know nothing about our bodies. Like what goes on when you're having, you know, a baby or when you're breastfeeding. And like, we just feel like, oh, that's inappropriate to teach kids. And now nobody has any idea what's going on.
Right.
And forget about finding out about it in the hospital. They're just trying to get you out.
Yeah, they're not talking to you about growth spurts or anything like that. Or
even what's going to happen with your milk supply.
Right. No, they're
just
not
like,
talking
your
about
milk
that.
will come in you know, a few days and then it'll regulate and then, you know, you won't feel as full. Like it literally takes, or just put it on a piece of paper, like a brief synapse of, you know, the next, at least the, you know, fourth trimester.
Yeah. Which people don't even realize is a thing.
That's not even, nobody will talk to you about that either.
Yeah.
Like nurse on demand, it's fine. Everything's fine.
It's crazy.
But, you know, problems are where the money's at. So.
Yeah, this is kind of interesting because this lactation book that I was just reading that out of, it says here too, In the United States, samples of infant formula predictably arrive on parents' doorsteps during this time, the 10 to 14 days. This is written in with the 10 to 14 days growth spurt. Formula manufacturers obtain information about expectant and new parents from direct marketing firms and mailing lists sold to them by retail stores, internet orders, or browsing, parenting magazines, and other sources. It is no coincidence that the arrival of these samples coincides with the 2-week growth spurt, thus exploiting parents' securities at this stage. So yeah,
unbelievable.
Yeah, then you got that working for you.
Yeah, I mean, and it's, we already did that formula marketing episode, but it's just so disgusting. It's just so disgusting. Anyway,
yeah,
I got a message. I want to just read a message real quick because I got this and I never really did we ever? I don't know if I ever read this one. Anyway, Maddie on Instagram sent me a message. It was a while ago, like last month or something. And she said, I'm pregnant with my first, and I started listening to your podcast to help myself get better prepared for my breastfeeding journey. I recently listened to the episode where you talk about how the hospital sent you home with a garbage bag full of formula, because they did, and I always talk about that. And today, a box of formula samples and coupons showed up on my doorstep. I'm so glad I'm listening and getting prepared for what's to come, because that pissed me off and threw me for a loop. So yeah, I mean, they're even targeting this shit. I haven't had a baby yet, but
usually
it's a great time.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we don't have to do a whole sidetrack on this. So,
all right. So let's talk about 3 to 6 weeks.
Okay.
In addition to increased feeding frequency in conjunction with a second growth spurt that occurs around 3 to 6 weeks after birth, the baby may nurse more often in response to an increase in the mother's activity level at this time. By 6 weeks, mothers may often resume many or all of their pre-pregnancy activities, including a return to work or school. The increase in activity may result in fewer feedings and reduced milk production. The baby's response is to nurse more frequently to rebuild milk production. The baby may also go to the breast more often for reassurance and comfort. So this too is also they're talking more about how is your baby responding to changes that are going on. Mm-hmm. And in addition to kind of to growth spurts too. So I think we don't really, and I know especially too, and this is more of a return to work thing, but babies do nurse more frequently sometimes when they return to work, or they want to nurse more overnight. Maybe they were sleeping longer. Now they want to nurse more overnight, and that's their time with their parent. That is their time now. If you're gone all day, or they are having a hard time adjusting to daycare. Yeah. And the daycare people are like, oh, they need more milk. They need more milk. And it's like, no, they're just not, they need time to adjust. They're fussy because they're away from their parent. Just pick them up. Just pick them up.
I mean, hold the baby.
Mm-hmm. But when you have one person for 4 babies or whatever it is at a daycare.
I'd have so many friggin' carriers on me.
I know, really. So
I just have babies attached to me. Front and back.
I know it, right? All right, so let's take a break, and then we're going to talk about the sleep changes that can happen.
All right. We'll be right back. Today's episode is brought to you by Sarah's Chill, a company that never stops making the lives of breastfeeding parents easier. Clunky coolers, bulky bags, batteries, and cords are so yesterday. Created by a mom for moms, Sarah's Chill guarantees convenience with their double-walled stainless steel breast milk chillers. A handful of ice is all you need to keep your breast milk or formula safe for 20 hours. No more lugging around bags of plastic and chemical freeze packs. Now you can pump and double pump all day into one sleek container. Sarah's Chill is there for you no matter where your journey takes you. Breast milk, storage, formula storage, cow's milk for toddlers, and more. Their products are not only beautiful, they're also travel friendly and FSA, HSA reimbursable. This is truly breast milk storage reimagined. Head to sarahschill.com. That's CERESCHILL.com. And you can also check them out on Instagram at the same name, Sarah's Chill. And use code BADASS for 15% off of your purchase. Today's episode is also brought to you by Milk by Mom. For moms who know the importance of providing the very best for their babies, we're thrilled to introduce a game-changing solution. Milk by Mom is on a mission to modernize how we nourish breastfed infants, offering the convenience and flexibility of formula while preserving all the goodness of breast milk. With innovative freeze-drying technology, you can store and transport breast milk effortlessly without compromising its nutritional value. This movement, spearheaded by founder Tirza, is all about empowering breastfeeding mothers and educating parents on the incredible benefits of breast milk. Don't miss this opportunity to provide your baby with the best. Head to milkbymom.com. That's milkbymom.com and use code BADASS for 10% off your order. Your baby deserves the goodness of breast milk now with the convenience you need. Embrace the future of infant nutrition and join the movement at milkbymom.com. And today's sponsors and their promo codes can be found in the show notes under this episode at badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com or wherever you are listening from. And also at badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com, you'll find all of our other episodes and information about scheduling your very own one-on-one online lactation consultation with Dianne.
Okay.
Growth spurts.
So, growth spurts and sleep changes. So, some babies, and it really depends on the baby, some babies sleep more during a growth spurt. I remember my babies slept more during a growth spurt, and some babies do not. Some babies will be more awake during a growth spurt.
Yeah.
They might wake more during the night because they're hungry. They might resist naps, take shorter naps. One of my clients whose baby just turned a year, she was like, he stopped napping.
Yeah.
He's not napping.
Yeah.
I can't get him to nap. It's like, yeah, you know,
and
like,
he's mad about it too. It's like, you're so tired, take a nap. And they won't.
Yeah.
Have you seen that little video? There's a little video that goes around the internet. It's like these two toddlers sitting at a table and the little girl is crying her eyes out and the little boy's like, did you have a nap today? she's like, no. And he's like, you need one.
Oh my gosh.
That's really funny.
So cute.
Yeah, it's like the tiredest, crankiest babies that need sleep won't sleep. Because it just sucks.
Yeah.
It's, you know, when you you don't feel good and you can't sleep and you're so tired, but you can't sleep.
Yeah, it does feel awful. And they just, they're just miserable. They can be miserable during a growth spurt, which is also, like Abby had a great point. This is also another reason why they're going to be nursing more, because they're just miserable during this time. And then it gets into a bit more fussing. You may also notice that your normally smiley baby is suddenly Little Miss Mr. Grouchy Pants. The change in mood.
Is that in the book?
Yeah, not in the book. It's in off a website that I found. Yeah. I know. The change in mood could be a reaction to their body stretching and growing, or maybe it's because they're extra hungry or extra tired. So this is just, they're just miserable. They're miserable. And then they can't tell you that they don't feel good. And, you know, so they're really just they might not seem like your same baby, but it's only a couple of days and then they're back to normal again. So the book says that between 3 and 6 months, the baby continues to grow. Feeding frequency will increase periodically to meet caloric needs. These growth spurts typically occur at about 3 and 6 months. Parents may incorrectly interpret these increased feedings as a sign that their baby's readiness to begin solid foods. So try not to fall into that.
Yeah.
Into that hole, that black hole, because I saw somebody and I was so disappointed because it's somebody, she's well known in our feeding community. She's not a lactation consultant, but she's works with babies and just had her own baby. And I just saw pictures of him on Instagram starting solids and he's like 4 months old. And I'm like, I'm so disappointed because it's so early, you know? It's just so early. But people say, oh, yeah, you can start at 4 months. And it's like, no. I just recently heard a thing. I was at Prego Expo in Orlando, and there was somebody that was giving a talk about starting solids. And she was saying if your baby was 37 weeks, if your baby was born 3 weeks early, you start solids at 6 months and 3 weeks. If your baby was 2 weeks early, you start solids at 6 months and 2 weeks. You know, and I never
You adjust, right? For you,
Mm-hmm. But it should not be 4 months.
No.
Regardless.
And that's so normal to hear that too. That's another thing that you just constantly hear. Well, just, they're just hungry. They probably want some food. You can just start some solids. Give some rice cereal in the bottle.
Yeah, because then they're getting up a little bit more frequently. Like this just said, they might be up a little bit more frequently overnight. They might be in that 4-month sleep regression, which, how I feel about that whole thing.
Right.
But, and then we're thinking, let me give them some food because that'll help them sleep longer. And we know it does not help them sleep longer at all. There's like research behind that.
Yeah.
It doesn't help them sleep longer. So what you can do, alternate often, cluster feedings, which your baby might be doing, which is back-to-back nursing sessions, usually start to peak around your baby's first growth spurt, and between 3 and 6 weeks old. Like I had just mentioned that's usually around the time when you see those cluster feedings start anyway. Usually parents are worried that they're not making enough breast milk at this time. And I always try to tell people that, like when I see them when their baby is a newborn, I'm like, usually around the 2-week time frame, your baby might start to cluster feed. Typically in the evening, it can be any time, but usually it's the evening time when they're miserable and they start to cluster feed. This has nothing to do with your milk supply at all. Usually doesn't even have that much to do with hunger. It's really more about like being calmed, being comforted, being with their parent, just really being connected to you. That's what they want. It's not that they're starving.
Yeah, they're soothing themselves. They are literally self-soothing. We say like they need to learn how to self-soothe. This is literally what they are doing and learning to do by nursing. You are teaching them and they are learning to self-soothe.
And even if under some circumstance, there was a problem with milk supply and your baby was cluster feeding, all that's going to do is help your milk supply.
Yeah, right.
That's all it's going to do.
Just let them nurse. They know what to do.
They do. They know. So it's like they're making sure that they have enough breast milk. And that's what they're doing during their growth spurt. They're eating more frequently and they're making sure they have enough breast milk for what they need. Because they can tell your baby, they can tell your body what they need.
Yeah.
So increasing your daytime feeds, you can do that as well. If you're home with your baby, one of the best ways to help a baby who's losing sleep because of a growth spurt is to encourage more daytime eating. So maybe feed more frequently, maybe feed instead of every 3 hours. If your baby is typically around like an every 3-hour baby, maybe try to feed them a little bit more frequently than that. Feed on demand. That's really the best way to do it. And if your baby seems to want to eat more frequently during the day, let them do that. Dream feeds.
Oh, yeah.
Dream feeds is another one. Did you ever do dream feeds?
Now, this is when you kind of like try to nurse them without waking them up, but latch them on.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever did that.
I didn't know about them. So if I did, it was by accident.
Yeah. Right. I probably did it by accident, but I don't know if I ever did it like purposely.
So, and this is something too that you might see more of maybe not if you're like scheduling your feeds, but if you know that your baby, so this is typically what people do, or what I always tell people to do. If you put your baby down to sleep, say it's like 8-9 o'clock at night and your baby goes down to sleep and you want to go to bed in another hour or so like that. If you take your baby at that point, kind of grab him up, nurse him real quick. Don't wake him up. Don't change a diaper. Don't do any of those things. Don't unwrap him. Keep him sleeping.
I would say don't even move him. Just go. I mean, and this is why bed sharing is better because you can just lay down.
Right. Yeah.
And you put your nipple in front of a sleeping baby, they're going to latch on.
Yeah, they probably will. and then just get one more feeding into them. And it says research shows, I didn't look for the research, so I don't really know what that research looks like. But it says that sneaking in an extra feed between 10 p.m. and midnight can reduce night wakings. I have no idea if that's true, but give it a shot and let us know if that works.
Yeah. Do your own research and let us know.
Yeah, do your own research and let us know. They said, but that's supposed to be really helpful during a growth spurt as well.
Yeah,
so you can also try doing that.
I think Rebecca Meeke talks about that too, doesn't she? I can't remember now.
Dream feeds, I think so.
Yeah, just kind of like trying to. Yeah, you're just trying to like lengthen their stretch of sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So that instead of they're waking up because their stomach is empty, it'll be full longer.
And some babies do really well with it. And I think it just depends on how your baby sleeps. If your baby's, wakes up really easily, or if they don't, I think it just depends. But some babies do really well with dream feeds and some just don't.
Yeah. And we have to remember your baby is also wired to wake up, to not sleep like super long stretches, because that's just how they are with their brain being developed and everything. And babies don't go into long, deep sleeps because it's not really safe. Again, that's why formula is a SIDS risk, because it puts them into a deeper, longer sleep. And I'm not saying like a dream feed is going to make your baby sleep longer and it's dangerous. It just might not work.
Right.
Because they might still just wake up because that's what they're wired to do. So and if it works, that's great. It's not dangerous.
Right. No, it's not at all. And I think sometimes if it works, maybe you are catching them at that time where they're in a little bit of a deeper sleep cycle and they're not waking up. But if they're in a really light sleep cycle, maybe they do wake up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is sleep regression and a growth spurt the same? Growth spurts can often bring about sleep issues, but sleep regression and growth spurts are not the same thing. Growth spurts are centered around physical growth. Sleep regression is about cognitive and mental growth. So very different. And we do have episodes on the 4-month sleep regression, and we talk a lot about how it's not really a regression. It's more of a positive thing. Regression sounds like a negative thing, but everybody thinks about it.
It sounds like they're going backwards. They're like unlearning things, but they're not. They're actually learning so many things and growing so much that it's like wakeful to them.
Yeah, because their little brain is just so busy. So there's a lot of stuff going on with them. So they're not really like regressing. They're just not sleeping as well. So they might be up more. They might want to nurse more. And this is also a time where people think, oh, I don't have enough breast milk. I don't have enough milk at night. There's a lot of stuff around the internet about why your babies wake up and what your milk supply is like. And people think, oh, you don't have enough milk in the evening, or you have more milk. You have less milk in the evening, but it's better milk, or overnight milk is better, or it's just, there's so much to it. And it really is just like, just feed your baby. Like, why do we just don't worry about it and feed your baby? Because that's really, your baby's getting the milk when you feed them. And that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
But the sleep regression, 3 or 4 month sleep regression, or 8 or 9 month sleep regression, which the 8 or 9 month sleep regression is new to me just in the last few years. Like, I thought it was just the 4 month. And then I heard people start talking about the 8 month sleep regression.
I don't even know. Like, I can't even say like, oh yeah, my kids at 3 months did this. Like, how can anybody, I wasn't thinking about it at the time. I don't remember it now. You're just in chaos.
Right. Like, I don't either.
I'm not like looking at the calendar tracking like sleep regressions.
I don't think I would have even thought about it.
No. Yeah. I mean, like,
you just deal with it. They're just there.
You're just kind of going through it. But I think one of the things that I definitely did was like freak out and wonder how we can get more sleep, when really what's going on, there's not so much you can do about. I mean, I will praise bed sharing all day because you don't have to keep getting up when they're waking a lot at night. When you're there, you get more sleep. I mean, it's proven, research shows bed sharing people get more sleep, even though it doesn't feel like it all the time. Bed sharing and baby wearing to get you through the day of the fussy baby. And then, you're just dealing with it. Because also, I mean, I know that I was am very reactive to my kids. And when they're upset or whatever, I'm just like, we have to do something about this. And, I wish that I could have just leaned into it a little bit more and just been like, okay, this is what we're going through. Because you can't undo it. There's nothing to do. There's nothing wrong. This is just what it is.
Right.
And hopefully understanding that a little bit more will help you be able to lean into it more.
I think I was able to do it a little bit. Like I had older sisters that had had kids before me. So they were like, oh, that's normal. Oh, this is that, which was super helpful. Like I remember my one sister saying about spitting up, oh, some babies are spitters, some aren't. And I was like, oh, okay. And that just solved that problem.
That's so helpful. Yeah.
I never worried about it after that,
Yep.
But a lot of people don't have that.
Yep.
And I was really grateful to have, somebody go, oh yeah, they're just going through this, or sometimes they're fussy, or maybe it's just a growth spurt, or, whatever. So that was really helpful. But if you're not sure what your baby is doing, then it's like, oh my God. And what really, none of us are sure what our babies are doing. But a lot of us turn to the internet and are like, well, what is happening right now? First thing you're thinking of, oh, maybe you just don't have enough breast milk.
Yeah. And then we have ads for things of, ways that you can increase your breast milk supply, some things that you can eat, random shit, brownies and cookies. And wouldn't life be nice?
Oh my God, right? Yeah.
And things, formula for, the colicky or restless baby, whatever helps you sleep more, and just all this shit. Because you start typing that stuff in and then it targets the ads towards you.
Right.
This is all very premeditated.
There's stuff that I'm afraid to look up for my own self because I don't want to be targeted with ads for it.
Yeah.
I literally won't look up certain things that I want information on because I don't want to get the ads for them for the rest of my life.
Yeah. So I get nothing in my ad. I mean, in my newsfeed, I get constant ads for scrubs. For those nursing scrubs.
Yeah, why?
I'm not a nurse. I have never searched this up. I don't know what it is that is happening that's targeting, unless they're just paying so much money to shove this in news feeds, which that must probably be the case. But anyway, yeah, it's true. Because you know, as soon as you start looking at it, looking it up, or start talking about it, even, here come the ads.
Yep. But this is what you can kind of expect. So I hope this is helpful for people. So you're looking at growth spurts, 7 to 10 days, 3 to 6 weeks, around 8 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and 12 months. So if your baby is anywhere around these ages and they're a little bit fussier, maybe not sleeping as well, maybe sleeping more, eating a little bit more, totally normal. It's just a growth spurt. It's a growth spurt. And you might not realize, or you might not know that they happen at very specific times. So I hope this is helpful for some, for people, that it's to know that it's not your milk supply. It's not your baby being ridiculous. They're just growing through a growth spurt, which can really be, difficult for them. So they're just looking to you to make it a little bit easier for them.
Yes. And bed share and baby wear and breastfeed.
Yes.
24/7.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Get you through. Yeah. Thank you. Bye.